Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Blue Truth and Bourbon. I'm your host, Steve. I appreciate you guys being here. If you are watching live or if you are watching this later on YouTube or on my Facebook pages, I appreciate you tuning in. Um, hope you're having a good week so far. Been busy this week myself, so lots going on. Visited the race in Daytona last week, and even though Chase Elliott did not win, Uh, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, and Joey Logano all crashed. So it's a great race for me. I really enjoyed watching them not win. A lot went on this week. Yesterday, obviously, we had the tragic shooting, a school shooting at the Catholic school in Minnesota. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, you know, really with this topic, there's a lot we can go into and a lot we probably will go into. So, if you have your opinions, if you have questions, don't be afraid to throw them out there, and I will respond to them or share them with everybody else that's on here. In fact, let me add this on here so that comments go up on the board so you guys can see them when they come in. But yeah, very tragic, very sad. First, let me say that my heart goes out to all the people that were involved. Just pure evil yesterday. I mean, that's all we can describe it as. All I can describe it as. It's just pure evil. And so I just really pray for all those families that were involved, for the people that had to investigate it, the cops that had to investigate that scene. Um, just like anything out there that we go through as law enforcement and scenes that we have to investigate, it's something you're going to remember forever, unfortunately. And the ones that have children involved hurt the worst. So I pray for all those law enforcement officers that are involved in that in the investigation part of that. Um, just a sad, tragic event, and I'm probably going to say some things on here tonight that might be controversial to some people. I would venture to say that a lot of the people who watch my show tend to lean the way I do. And so you probably have some of the same opinions I have. You may have different opinions. That's okay. Um, I'm going to say some things that you're probably not going to, some people are not going to agree with if they're watching later or watching live. So, you can uh, turn me off. You can quit watching. You can go to another channel, start watching TV. You don't have to watch me. If you don't agree with me, you can try to cancel me, but I don't care. I do this for me and for people that are interested in watching. So, if you think differently or you think that what I say is too controversial, much like Denzel Washington said last week, the only way you can get canceled is if you sign up. And I didn't sign up for nothing. So you can't cancel me. I can do this as much as I want, and people can throw as much hate out as there as they want. So, um, yeah, there's that. So hopefully everybody's having a great week. Whether you're watching live or watching later, I hope you have a good weekend too, coming into this Labor Day weekend. Good news is no storms out there right now. So here in Florida, we are getting rain, but nothing, nothing we're having to batten down the hatches with. And uh, looking forward to buying all the toilet paper and water out of the grocery store. So if you're watching, make sure you give me a shout so that I know you're here. Cause like I say every time, I can see how many people are watching. I just can't tell who's watching. So if you, obviously there's some folks that watch that don't want to comment or put things out there because of other people who might be watching. And there are plenty of those people who are out there watching because I get phone calls and texts and messages all the time about people that saw the show that don't necessarily like me. Hey, don't watch. So yeah, let's get into it. The tragedy yesterday in Minnesota. I had a chance last night to watch some of the vigil stuff that was going on, and some of the folks they had speaking. To say the least, there was a couple there that I have no idea. First of all, why they were asked to speak because I missed the front end of one of the guys that was speaking. Apparently, he's a parent of somebody who has been shot in the past and had a couple of sons that were shot in the past. Very, very poor speaker, public speaker, if you ask me. Didn't really have a message other than we got to get rid of the guns. And so, I'll be honest with you. If you're watching, if you watch me and you watch this taped and it offends you that I am a pro Second Amendment guy, don't watch or leave. Doesn't matter to me. But just, honestly, watching some of that stuff that was going on and some of the things that were being said, even from the mayor, um, just kind of, I don't know, the things that they were saying. And if you're here and you're watching, if you watch any of that stuff and you have opinions on it, please share, because I like to at least have a back and forth when we're on here. Um, some of the things that were just said by the people that were there really were just self-serving. Um, if you watched any of it, I'm sure you feel the same way, or maybe you don't. But just a lot of self-serving politicians that were up there. Of course, that's all you're going to get, because those are the people that earn the spotlight. Those are the people that the media wants to talk to. So they don't want to talk to people like me. They don't want to talk to people like you. They just want to talk to the politicians, because they know they're going to get their sound bites. They know they're, especially in a state where it's everybody hates Trump. Um, they know that they're going to get their sound bites, and they know that they're going to get the hate Trump. And honestly, that's a lot of what I saw yesterday was hating the government. And the government had nothing to do with this. The administration had nothing to do with this. The way things are being run in this government had nothing to do with this. This was an evil individual who was clearly disturbed, mentally ill. Um, I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff, but some of the stuff that I've seen where this individual, where he actually wrote that he was tired of being trans and that he wished he never brainwashed himself. And, so that says to me, that says everything right there. Um, he was obviously disturbed. And from what I understand, this may not be true. I haven't really, uh, at one point, I heard that he had triggered the video on YouTube to go simultaneously to go off while he was doing what he was doing. I won't mention his name because he doesn't deserve to be mentioned here. Um, the victims, they don't, as far as I'm concerned, he has zero. I don't care why he did this. I don't care who he was. I don't care who people think he was. He's a disturbed individual that carried out this act, this senseless act. If you're that disturbed, if you're that bothered by what's going on in your own life, why destroy other people's lives in the process? I don't get that. Yeah, I do, because we're, and here I'll tell you this up front, so you can drop out if you want to. I don't hide my faith. I believe how I believe. I believe we're fighting a spiritual war, and one of the things that I saw a lot yesterday, a lot, because of course Minnesota is a blue state, and so every time something like this happens, the left wants to say immediately, um, thoughts and prayers are not enough. Thoughts and prayers are ridiculous. Thinking and praying do nothing for us. We have to get rid of the guns. Well, in my opinion, and maybe in some of your opinions, the thinking and the praying is the problem. Thinking and praying being taken out of schools, being taken out of the world, being taken out of the country. That's part of the problem. Actually, that's part of the biggest part of the problem, and as far as I'm concerned, you know, these kids were doing exactly that at the time. They were praying, and for this individual to go in there and do what he did, and yes, I'm going to call him a he. I don't care if he's trans or not. To go in there and do what he did, this unspeakable act to a church. First of all, if you've seen anything, if you've read anything, this guy is against Christians, against Catholics, against Jews. Um, somebody's already labeled him pro-Palestinian. I don't know that. I don't know that he's posted anything about that. But honestly, when it comes down to it, it's a spiritual war. and this guy is was straight from the devil. So when we get into this, and I want you to share your thoughts. The biggest thing, obviously, the biggest conversation every time something like this happens is guns, of course, and it's gonna be. I mean, it's just a plain and simple of it. And of course, how I believe and how some of you believe, um, guns don't kill people, right? I got guns that sit in my closet every day that have never killed anybody. And so to make this about guns, oh, we have to ban assault rifles. We have to get rid of assault rifles. Um, this guy obtained them legally. He obtained the guns legally. But what I do want to know is how somebody can come into a gun store and spend thousands of dollars on guns at one point, at one time, and some flags not go off, especially somebody as young as he is. Not that he's not, doesn't have the right to the guns, but um, it's a gun conversation that a lot of people are going to start having. And I've seen some things out there, some conspiracy theorists that are already talking about this is a psyop and this is a government thing, and whoever it is, the left or the right or whatever, is creating this kind of thing. I don't like to go down those rabbit holes, but I will tell you this: one of the speakers that I saw was the AG of the state of Minnesota, and one of the comments he made was that the United States is the worst as far as gun deaths are concerned in the world. And that's simply just not true. The United States is down the list. I'm not saying we're not up there, but we're down the list. Mexico has more gun deaths per year per capita than the United States does. So a lot of lying going on. We know that it's going to happen. Um, it's the back and forth, and we're going to get that regardless. It's just the way it is. But uh, one of the things that he said is, he hopes and prays that his lawsuit against Glock goes through, and that he's able to make them accountable for some of the things that they've done or the weapons that they're making. Um, just like I said, a lot of self-serving politicians that were up there on stage yesterday evening during the vigil. So the things that we have to look at, and honestly, I think this is. Um, when we talk about the guns, but one of the things that, I mentioned in the title for this episode, from mental health to guns, keeping our children safe. At least here in the state of Florida, public schools have SROs. Private schools, if they're part of the public school system, some of them are, they have SROs that are assigned to their schools. So a lot of the private schools have security. They hire their own security, but I'm not sure what the case was in this Catholic school in Minnesota. I don't know if they have somebody there or not. And so the one of the largest conversations we need to have is, what do we do about providing safety at schools? And I saw someone on CNN. I flipped back and forth. I watch CNN every once in a while just to see how far they're spinning stuff. And one of the guys on CNN says, it's the same thing. He says, how far do we have to go? Where do we go with this? Do we have to block off an entire city block around every school and not let anybody in unless they're related to business at the school or what have you? And, I know right now, I think, I know here in the state of Florida, the trend is that all the schools are locked down, all of the exterior doors are locked. I know, for instance, the high school that's right down the street from me, where my son went to high school. I know this year, and I don't know if it's been previous years. I don't know to what extent it has been, but I do know that um, kids have to have their ID cards and swipe their ID cards in order to access hallways and things like that. Now, that's not between classes. Obviously, all the teachers are out, the SROs out moving, walking around. The doors are probably propped open so they can move freely in the hallways to get there. But once class starts, exterior doors are locked. Um, Maybe not the classrooms themselves, but exterior doors are locked so that nobody can access the schools. So I'm certain that's probably the trend throughout the United States. I don't know. And maybe if you're on here and you're from somewhere else or you're an SRO, um, maybe you have an opinion on that. Definitely, comment or let me know what you think. But certainly the trend, I think, is to put most schools on lockdown throughout the day when school's in session. And that's the best we can do right now. Now, honestly, some of the conversation last night about what do we do for or how do we make it safer? And some of the things that that has been thrown around there is arming teachers. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Um, it could go both ways, honestly. I mean, as long as they're trained, um, I know I say a lot, sorry. As long as they're trained and follow up on training, that could be a good thing. If you have a crazy teacher that one day is depressed and goes off and has a gun, I mean, yeah, I always have to think about the what ifs. But I mean, the ultimate goal is to keep our children safe. So if we're arming teachers, if we're arming administrators, I think that's probably a good thing. I think we're probably headed that way. At least we should be. Um, Unfortunately, for a while now, we're gonna continue to have the arguments of just taking our guns away from us. In my opinion, that's not, we're taking guns away from good people. And, how many times did it have to be said? If not, I'll say it again here for you. Uh, Bad people don't turn their guns in. They don't tell you that they have guns. You can come knock on somebody's door, and if you start trying to round up weapons and say, all right, hey, you got to turn them over. How many of the bad people are going to do that? That's never been the case. Bad people get guns regardless. And I'm probably going to get banned from Facebook for using that word too much. So I don't know if I should go to pew pews or what. But, ultimately, when you're taking those out of the hands of good people, um, there begins the bigger problem. You never hear the stories about the good guys that are putting an end to violence. You always hear about, all we want to do is take the weapons away, but you never hear about the good guys. They never show the stories about the good guys taking. They do, but they're rare to be shown, and it happens probably a lot more than we know. Uh, so taking guns away from good people, pew pews away, whatever. Facebook, kick me off if you need to, um, ban me, whatever. That's not going to solve the problem, And honestly, those are not, I wouldn't. Uh, I will say anybody could grab a machete, a sword, several knives, and do just as much damage as somebody can with a pew pew. That's just the plain and simple of it, guys. We have people out there that are mentally disturbed that can do just as much damage with anything that they can find rather than it having to come from a gun store. Really. So a lot of arguments last night um, on television, CNN, Fox, the same thing, showing the same people, same politicians talking about we got to do something about this. Yeah, you're right, we do. Um, what do we have to do now? Honestly, or obviously, these situations, these incidents that occur in schools, especially, but really all of these incidents that occur, the person's mentally ill. The person that perpetrates these incidents, there's something wrong with their brain to think that it's okay to do these things or that they have to do these things. And so when we look at it, the ultimate thing is the mental health part of this. Now, here's where I get controversial. I know there's some people watching right now. Don't know who they are, but I know there's some people watching right now that I don't know. You may dump me after this, but I'm going to tell you right now, as far as I'm concerned, transgender is a mental illness. If you think, if you're a woman and think you're a man, or man and think you're a woman, you are mentally ill. This has nothing to do with gay and lesbian. LGBTQ, well, maybe the T, it is a mental illness. We have no problem talking about someone who has schizophrenia, multiple personalities, um, sitting them down with a physician and or psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever you call them, and labeling that person as having a mental disorder. Well, gender dysphoria is a mental disorder, plain and simple. It is a mental issue. This guy, I said this earlier, said in his manifesto that he was, or his letters to his family or whatever, he was tired of being trans and he was sick that he had, how did he put it? That he had brainwashed himself to believing this. So obviously he knew something was wrong. And if you're not aware of this, Minnesota, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, who was formerly running as Kamala Harris's running mate for vice president, signed into law that Minnesota is a sanctuary state for transgenders. I think it's the lieutenant governor that was wearing the shirt that said something about, I can't remember, something about loving trans kids and stuff like that. And this seems to be a breakdown in society. This is, I don't know if it's the left's plan. I don't know if it's just Satan's plan. I don't know whose plan this is, but there seems to be a group out there that is dead set on making sure that every child is exposed to, uh, becoming transgender. Uh, you know, it's not like, again, like I said, this isn't anything about gay or lesbian. This has nothing to do with that. Um, it's not like, you go to school and the elementary schools are wanting to talk about whether you like boys or like girls. The conversation is always about transgender, about the what do you call it? The drag shows and stuff like that. Becoming something you're not. That seems to be the conversation that is going on in this country lately. And the focus has been to, oh, you should take these hormones and cut off the parts that you don't want, that you don't feel that you need. And there's countless people out there, evidence of folks that have detransitioned, that have regretted their decisions to do that. And a lot of them were forced by parents. I mean, all you got to do is watch social media these days lately, guys. Watch the news. Parents that have babies. I see it on occasion on Facebook or what have you, TikTok, whatever it is. And you've probably seen these too. If you have, let me know. But you have these. I saw this woman that's like, she just had a baby. I mean, the baby is like 6 months old, and she's like, "Oh, my baby is my daughter, my son is a girl. I'm calling him, this. I have a boy, but he wants to be a girl." Well, how does your 6-month-old baby know that he wants to be a girl? It's ungodly. That's all it is to me. And to kind of, I don't know, to spread this agenda to, I don't know what it is, guys. I mean, some of you are here, you have comments and stuff. What do you think? I mean, what is it that we're doing as a society that, I mean, it hurts my heart to think about, you know, how this society has become so focused on these things. Honestly, over the last couple of days, I think more people have been concerned about whether Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift are going to get married than they are concerned about the health and welfare and the spiritual welfare of the country, of their children. The focus is on all of these external things. And we're doing it to ourselves. The country is on a downhill slide. That's just my opinion. I mean, and basically, I just kind of cross reference things with the Bible, and that's where you know, I kind of get my information from. That's where I kind of get my opinions from. Is I see that the way that things are going, and it's unsettling. And so mental health has got to become a focus for some of these things. Now I get it. We have HIPAA laws, and you go in to see your psychiatrist and you say something, and obviously most of them are people that we have given some authority to, that if a statement is made, certain statements are made, I'm going to hurt somebody, I'm going to hurt myself. Obviously, those people are mandated to say something. But there's other things where, I don't know if you watched Fox last night, Fox Live, but James Copenhaver was on there, a friend of mine, and he talked about it a little bit. Um, that the the mental health of these folks, uh, we have to allow. I think we need to rewrite some of the HIPAA stuff, because doctors may not have enough, like James said. Doctors may not have enough, but there's something there, something that they can see. Some red flags are going up, and we're not saying anything, and like James said last night when he was talking with the Fox contributors, uh, see something, say something. And I know, we heard that a lot back after 9/11, and people used it. I know the sheriff in Orange County, not the current one, but the previous one, used that a lot. If you see something, say something. And it's true, guys. A lot of people are worried. And again, I'm going to quote James, not directly, but paraphrasing. A lot of people are like, well, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong with my thinking? But what if you're right? Like James said, what if you're right? These conversations have got to be had. The mental health of some of these folks that are out there. Um, and again, I'm gonna be controversial here. The gender dysphoria group, they have a mental problem, and we have to fix this. Um, there's no two ways about it. Let's see. Scott says most K through 12 will share this one. I'll show it so you guys can see that. Uh, right, exactly, Scott. I mean, there's something out there that most of these guys are giving off. Most of these folks are giving off. Um, Here and there, things that they say, things that they do. There's always something that you have seen that's out of the ordinary. And Chrissy, you're right. Social media is a problem. It's great to have. I use it a lot for research, but there's just something to it. And I don't know what we do. I don't know if we obviously, there are ways for parents to limit access. I know for on phones and stuff like that, where you can limit access for certain hours of the day and stuff like that. But, social media is important, but at the same time, it's probably been a detriment to our society. It's great for us because I get to do this kind of stuff and get a message across and get out there. But, social media has become so important to these young people that it really has caused issues, and honestly, I can't remember where it was. I don't know if it was on Fox, or I know it wasn't on CNN. It was on Fox. It was earlier in the day on the Will Kane show. And one of the contributors said, what we've got to do is we've got to get our kids out of their rooms. They're in their rooms, they're on YouTube, they're on TikTok, they're on Facebook, they're on wherever, all these social media sites. And they're in their rooms from the minute they get home from school. They come out, they eat dinner, they go back to their rooms. None of our kids are outside playing anymore. Well, I want to say none, but the majority of kids, I think, are probably not out playing and doing things. And that's a parent thing. That's something that parents need to take care of. But we have to get our kids out of our rooms, out of the rooms. We have to get them out, sitting down, watching television with us, having conversations with us. Way back in the day, um, they called them latchkey kids, where there was no parent at the house, and they had a key and they got after school, came home and opened up the door and they were by themselves for a certain amount of time. And there was just no parent there to do any of that stuff. And we don't have as much of that anymore. I mean, not uh, the majority of I think a majority of homes are probably a little more focused on being at the house, and trying, but it seems like most of the parents are okay. And Chrissy, this is to your point. Most of the parents are okay with allowing social media to be the babysitter. As long as they're not in my hair, I'm okay with that. And that's part of our problem. And I think social media goes to the mental health thing. I think that as much focus and Chrissy, I think this is what you're saying, or if it's not, feel free to jump on here and add some more stuff. But I think that you know the things that these kids are seeing on social media and that social media being the babysitter, social media being the place where they get all their information, because they got everything at their fingertips with their phones. But social media being, their focus, um, mentally, what kind of information are they getting from this? And so there's a lot of people, there's a lot of detractors out there on social media, a lot of these influencers and stuff like that. They're just sending the wrong message out there. I mean, just think about the number of kids who have uh, hurt themselves because someone bullied them on social media. Uh, there's plenty of examples of that are out there. And so, yeah, I agree. Social media is probably part of our problem. I don't know if that's something we can really control at this point. I think we've that that cat is out of the bag, and I don't know that we're going to wrangle it in. But social media. I'm sure that this individual, at 17, changed his name from Robert to Robin, and the mom went down and signed off on all this stuff. And I just don't know that parents, and I don't know if it's a generational thing. I would like to think not, um, but I think we are who raised us, and thankfully I had parents that were, I won't say strict because they weren't strict, but there was rules, and there's certain things that weren't allowed, and there's certain things that were allowed, and I think that parents these days are afraid of kids. They're afraid to be reported, or they're afraid that their kids are going to hate them because they don't let them do this, or they don't let them on social media, or they don't let them, and I saw a lot of that in law enforcement. When I was in charge of missing persons, a lot of these kids get to the point where they are uh, so mad at their parents for the rules that exist that they just, oh, I'm just going to run away. I'm just going to go stay with a friend, and I'm not going to go home, and they're going to have to find me. And when we find them and bring them back, they run away again, and it just becomes a vicious cycle, and it becomes a game to the kids, honestly. And I don't know. I don't know if it's because we took spanking out of school. I don't know if it's because at some point we told. I do blame our education system a lot on this too, Chrissy. I think our education system has allowed this to happen. There was a point in time, not when I was in school, uh, certainly between the time I was in school and between the time my kids went to school, it became, people telling, educators telling their kids, well, your parents can't spank you. They're not allowed to touch you. And that's just not the case, obviously. Those of you who are in law enforcement understand that especially in the state of Florida, what corporal punishment is, what the rules are with that. And so I spent countless, hours on the phone with parents who wanted to report the other parent for spanking their child, and explaining things to them, and like, you know, trying to get myself out of trouble because they call and complain to higher up in the chain of command or directly to the sheriff at some point. And so people just don't understand. So I think the educational system, certainly social media, Had a lot to do has a lot to do with our kids' mental health these days. Andy says the world's grown cold from these days we grew up. So much evil. I don't know the answer to fix it. However, as long as we continue to prioritize protection for celebrities, yep, money, government buildings like courthouses, politicians, executives, artwork museums. Here we go. Armed guards and security infrastructure over protection for our most valuable asset, our children, we sadly will see more of these barbaric and heartbreaking killings. And you're exactly right, Andy. That's, we talked about it early on. The focus, again, how many times have you seen, if you've scrolled through your Facebook feed over the last 24 to 48 hours, how many Taylor Swift, Travis Kelsey messages have you seen? How many memes have you seen? That's where we're at in this society today, and the focus that we have. And, you think about, to Andy's point, the number of politicians, celebrities, athletes that have their own protection um, out there, that becomes more important to our society than protecting our schools. And there's ways to do this, guys. Every time the left wants to argue that we don't want cops in schools because we don't, you know, cops are bad, and all they do is arrest the wrong people, and they arrest these people, this group of people, and this group of people. The funny thing is, and again, this goes towards the pews and things like that. I don't know if you guys saw recently, but I kind of get off topic. So if you guys want to draw me back in, that's okay. Yell at me. But the mayor of Chicago, we can't arrest our way out of violent crime. I got news for you, guy. Look at Washington, D.C. The mayor in Washington, D.C. has actually come out and said, hey, you know what? Trump was right. Our city is safer. And the mayor of Chicago wants to say that we can't arrest our way into less violence. I saw somebody say today, I apologize for not knowing where it came from. It was probably in a response to that guy in Chicago, where I was reading some of his stuff. But they said, if you don't think that we can, as law enforcement officers, we know this. There is a small group of people, not a small group, but there's a group of people, a certain group of people, and I'm not talking about black, white, brown, blue, green, orange. I'm talking about criminals. There is a group of people who are criminals that are committing the majority of the crime. And if we go after those folks, like they're doing in Washington, D.C., if we go after those folks and we arrest them and we get these liberal DAs and state attorneys to actually do their job and hold people accountable for the crimes that they're committing, and we put these folks in jail, then the crime goes down. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me. I don't understand where the disconnect is with the liberal left and arresting. And it's a political thing. It's, I got to get elected, so I have to appeal to the right people. But I don't understand the disconnect. And honestly, I don't know that most of them believe half or any of the stuff they're actually spewing out of their mouths. I do think it's purely political. It's a way to get reelected. It's a way to maintain their power and control. I know that if I live in a purely Democratic county, a Democrat county, if I appeal to the Democrats, if I appeal to the people who believe, as I said, that we can't arrest this group of people, then I will get reelected. I will maintain my power and control. I will continue to fight to keep people out of jail so that they can continue to create havoc, so that I can continue to have a job, because the people are going to believe what I believe. And I don't know they believe it. I don't know. So, yeah, it's beyond me how we can say that not arresting bad people is a good thing. And that's what Chicago, and I think, honestly, I think you're going to see Chicago is going to be the next place where President Trump goes, look, enough is enough. It's time. I've seen, and if you don't know, the major mayor of Chicago is a black male. Um, I don't know if you saw when Trump took over Washington D.C., the mayor of Los Angeles, who's a black female, said that they were just out there arresting brown and black people, and it was all about color and who's committing the crime. And I'm not saying that they're committing the crime. I'm saying they're out there arresting. They're not just out there walking down the street and grabbing folks and going up, you're going to jail. You know, they're arresting people that are committing crimes. They're arresting people with warrants. They're going out there and getting the bad people. So to say something like that is ridiculous. Now, I'm not going to get into a Charlie Kirk session here where we talk about the numbers and who's committing crime and who's not committing crime, because that's not what that's not what I'm here about today. Um, I'm here to try to, like I said, I don't criticize to criticize. I criticize to make things better. And so I'm trying to find an answer, guys. I don't know that there's an answer out there. I think we do better by arresting bad people. I think we do better by finding a way to, somebody said, well, we need to bring mental institutions back. There's mental institutions out there, guys. We're just not putting people in there. Well, what do we do? I did a paper a while back when when I was working on my master's degree, which I did not get, by the way. So I finally got tired of going to school and trying to do the things that they were telling me I had to do to get promoted when other people weren't doing that and they were getting promoted past me. So I said, well, why am I going to do this? But anyway, I did a paper about mental health court. Not something that there is a lot of. A mental health court is an option. I think if we institute a mental health court and we take some of these folks that are out there, because again, like Scott said, there's signs, there's things out there that people are doing, that people are saying, that make it obvious that they're suffering from some sort of mental issue. And so if we reinstitute this mental health court, and we take people out of the system that are mentally ill and we put them in a place where we can work on the problem, or put them in a place where they can live out their mental issue in safety, I think we do better. I don't know. That's hard to do. I get it. It's a very hard concept to get across. It's a very hard thing to get started. Um, I don't know. But this individual that went into this school and did what he did was mentally ill. It had nothing to do with pew pews. It had nothing to do with a hatred for any particular group. It was a mental health issue, and so we've got to do better at figuring this out. And I'll say it again: the trans issue is a mental issue. And if you looked at anything over the last couple of years, the Nashville school shooting, this school shooting, there's several others. I won't go through all of them, but the the, the suspect in a lot of these incidents here lately have been trans. It's something we got to look at, guys. It's something for the mayor yesterday to get on TV and say that this isn't a trans issue and that we shouldn't be ostracizing or blaming our trans community for this. I'm not saying we're blaming, the trans community for this. What I'm saying is that there's obviously something going on that somebody needs to do some research on and find out what it is that we're not doing effectively. I can tell you what I think we're not doing effectively is we're not allowing physicians, we're not allowing psychiatrists, we're not allowing the people that are talking to these folks, because most of these folks are talking to somebody long before they do something like this. We're not giving them the tools that they need to be able to flag these individuals for law enforcement. And I think part of the things that we can do in law enforcement is to get out there, and if we notice things, you know, there's got to be something written. There's got to be something that we're doing to flag individuals like this. We've done a lot with those school shootings as far as kids that are making threats and writing reports and flagging folks and putting people in a database so that we're already looking at these individuals. But and I get it, this guy didn't have a criminal record, um, but there's something out there. Like Scott said earlier, there's something that this kid did, said. Family members saw this, and we're so afraid of being labeled racist, sexist, whatever tag you want to add. People are so afraid of what people are going to say about them that they just rather not say anything. And that's part of our problem is there's not enough people out there. There's not enough good people out there doing the right thing. And so I don't know where we go from here, guys. I really don't. I don't know what the answer is. I know the answer is not taking away our firearms. I know that leaving good people without an opportunity to protect themselves is not the answer. We have to find a better way to, as a society, figure out how to deal with the bad people, to deal with mental illness. And the answer, where does it lie? I don't know. You guys got any ideas? Uh, I don't get it. There's such a disconnect, a large disconnect between the left and the right on this. And like I said before, taking prayer out of schools, maybe not such a good thing. I believe 100% that this is a spiritual battle that we're fighting. And if you don't think that, you believe differently than me, that's your right. I'm not going to fault you for that. But ultimately, when we get down to it, this is good and evil. And the bad people that are out there, they're not going to give away their weapons. They're not going to give up trying to do bad things. And so we have to figure this out on our own. So how do we make our children safer? How do we make our schools safer? You know, I think every school and here's where you're going to probably jump on me because I've criticized uh, the SRO program in Orange County. And the only reason I've done that is because Orange County Public Schools started their own police force. They just promoted 3 new lieutenants from sergeant. I don't think that they have very many people at the level of sergeant anymore. I I'm pretty sure that they don't have a lot of people below the rank of sergeant anymore. Uh, it's a scam that's going on. And so I get it. You talk about how I've said that we need to pull SROs out of school and make Orange County Public Schools provide the security. But I think all of our schools should have 2 people. Um, I know that that's drawing on resources, and some of these cities, states, counties, and maybe the federal government need to come off some money. If we're going to do this, we got to do it right. And having one person assigned to a school in the back of the school in a classroom teaching a course or hidden away in a closet somewhere that makes rounds every so often and is on their computer a lot of the day. And I'm not faulting anybody. Again, I'm not criticizing anybody in particular. I'm just saying that one guy, one gal is not enough. And so we got to do better. We got to get better at protecting our schools, because obviously, they're soft targets, and that's what people like this individual that shot up this Catholic school in Minnesota. That's what they look at. That's what they see, and that's why they go after places like that because there's not a lot of protection there. Yeah, Andy, here I'll show that so you guys can see that specifically. So you don't have to try to read through the comments. Yeah, I mean, they know better. They're not going to try to get into the sheriff's office. They're not going to try to get into the federal courthouse or the county courthouse downtown. Uh, they're trying to get into these soft targets, and you know, Uh, a lot of people like to make the whole shooting into a, oh, he was going after the gay community. He wasn't. He went into a soft target. He went into a club that he didn't see an officer at. The guy was at uh, out at Disney, and there was a lot of cops out there. And he decided that was not a place he wanted to be. And he drove downtown, and downtown Orlando, most of the clubs had a cop there. In fact, Pulse had a cop there, but he was helping somebody else across the street at the time doing his job. And this guy didn't see him at the time. So he thought that was a safe place to go in and do some damage. And he did. And just like this kid in Minnesota, he saw it as an opportunity to get into a place where there were some soft targets and he was going to go in and do the damage. And so, yeah, you're exactly right, Andy. We've got so much protection on these other buildings, not that we shouldn't have, but you know, where are our priorities? What are we doing to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And it's not a case, in my opinion, where the right is okay with these things happening. I don't think that, the president or anybody else in government uh, thinks that this is not a priority or that they're okay with allowing these things to happen. They're not allowing these things to happen. We as a society have allowed these things to happen because we're too afraid to take care of business. We're too afraid that we're going to get labeled. Like I said earlier in the broadcast, if somebody wanted to cancel me, it's kind of hard to cancel because they can ban me from here, but I'll find a way to share my opinion. But you can't get canceled. Like Denzel said, you can't get canceled if you don't sign up. And I didn't sign up. So we have to do better at not being so scared of our own shadow that we're not saying something when we see something out there that's a little bit off, somebody that's a little bit off. And like I was saying earlier, I think it's, incumbent upon law enforcement. I think if you see something that's just not right, you're out with an individual or you get called to a house with an individual and there's things going on there that make the hair stand up on the back of your neck. And it does that for a reason. And so documentation, making sure the right people are aware of what's going on there. You know, honestly, I know here in the state of Florida, they've moved more towards it. I know Orange County Sheriff's Office has a behavioral response unit, and they have clinicians that can go out and provide resources to individuals who are having mental issues, mental breakdowns, situations that are going on that clinicians can be very beneficial for. And so we have to get better at doing that type of thing. These things are going to continue to happen until we make an effort. And the effort, the focus on the left is to get rid of all of those uh, tools that these guys are using to commit these crimes. And, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, guys. Those people are out there, those politicians are out there. And unfortunately, society has become so numb to, um, they've become more numb to the idea of good people taking care of problems that they start to believe everything that these idiots are spewing out of their mouth on the left. And, you know, I think more and more people head to that side after stuff like this. And it's unfortunate. Uh, you know, again, you know, this is a spiritual thing. And for those idiots to get up on stage and say, prayers and thoughts and prayers are not enough. Well, I bet you if more people hit the ground on their knees and did some focusing on praying and thoughts and a little less time on social media deciding whether or not so and so is getting married or uh, you know putting their memes out there on a daily basis, we might see a resurgence um, of good in this country. We might have a revival, to use an old Southern church term, revival on the grounds. I think that's what we need, guys. So I appreciate you guys being with me here tonight. I know we didn't, get a lot of conversation going, but I wanted to just put this out there and give you guys something to think about. I think that it's high time that we focused on this. Uh, there's got to be some conversations, some legitimate conversations. Not, hey, get rid of all the guns and everything. All this will stop. It won't. It's not. It's not going to stop. Bad people are going to do bad things, and they're going to do bad things to our kids. And uh, we got to do something. We got to get better. So if you have any comments, suggestions, make sure you leave them. I know we didn't get real in depth tonight, but next week, I think next week we're going to have a another special guest. I'll let you guys know as we get closer to that. Talking about some next week, I think we're going to be talking about recruiting and retention, and maybe some polygraph stuff with Jose Vicente if he can make it. And hopefully, we'll get some good stuff out there for you guys to think about. Again, with that next week, we're probably going to talk a lot about leadership and where we're headed with how we're recruiting and promoting. And, uh, we may get into a little bit of stuff here in the next couple of weeks about what Doge is finding in the state of Florida and counties that are not cooperating fully, and how things are affecting both law enforcement and society in general. So give me a listen, give me a share. Make sure that if you do, you get on here and you like and subscribe, or like and follow. Throw that out there. Uh, let your neighbors know, let your friends know to watch. And again, if you have any topics for suggestions for us to talk about, some stuff you want to see, I know I talked to Andy, and Andy was on here tonight. We're talking about getting a group of us together somewhere and just having a night of war stories and, shooting the bull. And hopefully some of you guys can call in or give us some messages, and we'll just have a good time, sharing some of the stupid stuff that goes on in law enforcement, some of the funny stuff. I saw one of my buddies posted today about Florida man. We'll talk about some of the crazy calls and stuff like that that we've done and been on, and seeing things that we've seen. So hopefully that'll be fun for you guys. But let me know, and hopefully have a great weekend. Stay dry if you're here in Florida, and I will see you next week.